Quake IV picks up where the second game's story ended. Although you are playing as a different soldier, it's still nice to see a straight sequel. Again, in this horrific nightmare world, you need to try and help the humanity. There are few major and minor changes this time in the game compared to all the previous games, but nonetheless it is Quake. It shares my favorite Quake game title with Quake II. If you have checked out my Quake II review, you know the world this game takes place in. Grim shit. Without going into the story, you receive a lot of weapons. A lot of weapon upgrades which spice up the game even more. Literally there is constantly new shit to play with. Although the start might seem very slow, after a certain moment in the game you receive speed boosts and all kind of ADHD stuff. After that, the game plays and feels like Quake II. It's no surprise it is made with the same engine as Doom 3, but with steroids. I hope Doom 3 would have played fast and with same weight as this one does. Arsenal is huge as mentioned and the level design for the most parts is great. There are some vehicle sections that I do not like as they are either too easy or if you try to rush, too hard. What you need to do is just move a bit at a time and kill all new enemies that spawn. Do that trigger. What comes to enemies, there is a ton of enemies and some of them can be a real bitch to handle. Nothing unfair, but if you are low on ammo it might be a struggle if you haven't progressed past the midpoint of the story. Controls are good, not so great as in Quake II as your movement is first limited a bit. Also jumping isn't something that comes from this dude naturally as it did in 1 and 2. Other than that, nothing wrong. Solid FPS controls. AI takes the cake on the enemies here as depending on your enemies and the enemy amount. Others rush with shotguns after regrouping and others stay back with long-range weaponry. Larger enemies just don't give a shit about others and are ready to explode even their friends. It's gory and intense, and I love it. As mentioned, the game uses the engine from Doom 3. It still looks great to this day, although some parts might look a bit more plastic than metal. Lighting and shadows are awesome as in Doom 3, and this time the engine seems to know how to handle more enemies on the screen and even friendly soldiers. Game speed overall seems to be boosted 20 or so %. Audio on some parts seems a bit too clean, but there are still that gritty feeling to most things. Design is once again disgusting and depressing. From humanity's point of view, that is. It's like a Willy Wonka's cyborg factory.
Let's see what you're made of.
It shares the first position of my favorite FPS games with Quake II and is a 10 out of 10 for me. I enjoy the world, gameplay, overall complete shit just works for me and tickles in the right way. The minor annoyances don't bother me in the big picture as they are so minor. Few minute segments 2 or 3 times.